What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of the No Fun League. Today, we will talk about more coaching searches, more coaching rumors. The biggest one being that Tom Brady asked Bill Belichick if he would be interested in leaving his brand new job in North Carolina as the coach of the Tar Heels to come be the coach of the Raiders. And obviously, given the history between Brady and Belichick, how long that they've worked together, the appeal of an NFL job, and the wins record of Don Shula, with teams being interested in Belichick, there's a lot that could happen now. I will say, like 15 minutes ago, Diana Rossini reported that Bill Belichick is committed to the Tar Heels and he's staying there. Whether that's a negotiation tactic or real, we don't really know. So we should still talk about it because it's a very intriguing possibility. Um, the Jets and the Titans are looking for new GMs. We talked about the Titans firing Rand Carthon yesterday and why it really doesn't make sense whatsoever. So it'll be interesting to see who they're looking at. They seem to be locked in on some similar targets as well. The New England Patriots seem locked in on Mike Rabel to be their new head coach, which also leads us to, question the legitimacy and the effectiveness of the Rooney Rule, because the way that the Patriots have conducted their job search for the head coaching job leaves a lot to be desired. In addition, we'll talk about my picks for the NFL awards this season, because obviously we'll have the award show and everything later, but I want to give my picks for the awards. Getting right into it, Bill Belichick. This all happened this morning. It started off with a Tom Pelissero Twitter post, Twitter bomb, whatever. Don't really have like a Woj bomb equivalent in the NFL, but Tom Brady wants Bill Belichick to be the next head coach of the Raiders. We already know that Tom Brady is going to be heavily involved in the next search, given that he is a new minority owner with the team. There is a $10 million buyout for Bill Belichick's contract in North Carolina if he leaves by July 1st, 2025. Now, given the fact that they made the time and effort to write this into his contract, this is definitely something that he thought could happen and the school thought could happen. So there's definitely a possibility that this still happens, even despite recent reporting on the contrary. Um, Now, if Mark Davis wants Bill to be his head coach, he's going to have to fork up $10 million for the buyout clause. Mark Davis's financial difficulties have been widely reported the last few years, so that will legitimately be a factor. Um, but that's not even the coolest part about all of this. He could, resign like he did with the Jets and just write it on a napkin and say that he's leaving. Apparently, he's currently recruiting in the state of New Jersey. So obviously, if he doesn't plan on going to the NFL, these rumors won't be a benefit to his recruiting efforts because UNC definitely needs a lot of help. The coolest thing in my mind, if this happens, is that Bill Belichick, Andy Reid, Sean Payton, and Jim Harbaugh would be in the same NFL division. They would play each other twice a year. Those are probably the four best head coaches outside of Tomlin and John Harbaugh that we've had in the NFL in the last 2 decades. Obviously, guys like Pete Carroll are up there, but like those are some of the best head coaches in the NFL in the last 2 decades. If we got them in the same division, playing each other 2 times a year, given that the Chargers and the Chiefs and the Broncos all made it to the playoffs, that division would be the best division in football every single year. It would be fascinating to watch. Also, given that the Patriots dynasty started with the Tuck Rule game against the Raiders, that would be an interesting little nostalgia piece to this as well. All extremely, extremely interesting. Um, I personally think that, is this a good fit for the Raiders? Probably. I mean, you're not going to get a better head coach on that team right now than Bill Belichick. I don't think there's a better head coach out there. Maybe Rabel. But other than that, Bill Belichick is back on the NFL coaching market. That's insane. But I think for Bill, it also kind of makes sense because like you have really good pieces on that defense. You have Max Crosby, Christian Wilkins. Some of the young corners are good. There's a lot of Patriots style pieces on that team because Josh McDaniels and Dave Ziegler were in charge. Now Tom Telesco is the GM, and I don't know if Bill would want more roster management power. But once again, given that Tom Brady is a minority owner and is kind of running this coaching search, from what we've seen so far, I don't think it's outside of the realm of possibility that they give him full roster control and kind of bench Telesco, because Tom Telesco has not been really successful in the last couple of years with the Chargers or the Raiders. Moving on to the GM search for the Titans and the Jets. The Jets have interviewed a lot of names and they've requested a lot of names. I think the two most intriguing names of brand new guys that would be brand new GMs are Mike Greenberg in Tampa Bay. He is their cap room guy. He's the guy that moved all the money around to get Antonio Brown, Rob Gronkowski, Leonard Fournette on that team the year that they won the Super Bowl with Tom Brady, and Mike Bergonzi of the Chiefs, who is their assistant GM. He's interviewed a couple of times every single year. Hasn't gotten a job yet, obviously, given that he's from the Chiefs. Very appealing. The Titans have also requested to interview him, so I think he'll definitely come out of here with a job. At least he should. The Titans have not really interviewed a lot of people yet. Other guys that the Jets are interested in, Louis Riddick, Jim Nagy. Louis Riddick is an ESPN analyst, former player. Jim Nagy is the Senior Bowl executive. He's in charge of the Senior Bowl. So that would obviously be a very, very good perspective in the draft. They've also looked at Thomas Dimitroff, who's the ex-Falcons GM, built that Super Bowl team. So they are doing a very wide search. They've also requested a couple other names recently. For both of these teams, I think they need GMs that have played a part in a quarterback decision before and have it being successful. Because the Jets need a quarterback, the Titans need a quarterback. Now, with the Titans, obviously it's appealing that you have the number one overall pick. You have really good pieces on that roster. You spent the most money in free agency last season. So, obviously that will be appealing, especially the number one overall pick aspect. The Jets is a little trickier because situation is really murky at quarterback. You don't have like extra assets or anything. You don't have a top 5 pick. So the Jets GM job is definitely interesting, and you have to work with Woody Johnson. Like that is a that sours any job opening that team has, because you have to work with Woody Johnson and you have to work for the Jets. But those are my thoughts on the GM search so far. Well, obviously more as second interviews come down the line and as their head coaching search progresses. Moving on to the New England Patriots. They seem to be locked in on Mike Vrabel. They are interviewing him tomorrow on Thursday. Most likely, I think Mike Vrabel's probably a New England Patriots head coach by the end of this weekend. If I had to guess, unless he waits to take the under interviews. If I were him, if I were the Patriots, I'd offer him a fuckload of money to take that job because it's Mike Vrabel. And I think Vrabel, with a lot of money to spend, a high draft pick, and Drake May, I think that's a really intriguing job for Vrabel. He just has to hire a good OC candidate to pair together with him, which he's been good at because Arthur Smith was a phenomenal DC hire or OC hire. The one thing that I will say, and we see this every single year, the Raiders did it when they were locked in on John Gruden. We see teams do this all the time. The Patriots interviewed Byron Leftwich and Pep Hamilton on the same day to get rid of their Rooney Rule requirement. And just 2 interviews on the same day, even if they're virtual, the way that they are rushed and announced like that, it's just like a blatant flaunting of the Rooney Rule, and once again proves to show that it doesn't work. And it's kind of, people that are on the right, like the MAGA people, like it's just an excuse for them to like DEI, 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 right? Like when people are like the Rooney Rule doesn't work. But at the same time, I think the NFL has proven time and time again that it does discriminate against people of color and minorities. And I think there needs to be a better system in place to incentivize interviews and actual interviews where people have an actual chance. Like, I think what they did with the 2 third-round pick rule is phenomenal. I think that is working and helps develop talent. At the same time, I think you got to look at the Rooney Rule and reevaluate how it works and how it should work in the future. Lastly, before I get out of here, my awards. These are not predictions. These are not what I think will happen. This is more so what I think should happen. And one change that I've made, because the NFL can never really decide if comeback player of the year means coming back from sucking or coming back from an injury. I have a most improved award and a comeback player of the year award to delineate between the two. Starting off with coach of the year, I think it's Dan Campbell. Somehow he hasn't won it yet. His team won 15 games. They've had so many injuries on defense. They've kept chugging along. And now, obviously, the coordinators are insanely amazing. But all of this is the decision-making, the fourth down philosophies, the attitude and culture that he's built among that Detroit Lions team. Dan Campbell deserves this award this year, and he should be getting it, in my opinion. It was a toss-up between him and Kevin O'Connell, and quite honestly, I used the last game of the season to help make my decision because I was torn between the two. But just the way that Lions team was prepared for that matchup and did everything right, Dan Campbell wins Coach of the Year if I'm giving out the award. For Offensive Rookie of the Year, I think Jaden Daniels is a lock. He has had a phenomenal season, complete with highlight moments like the Hail Mary and just clutch comeback wins time and time again, and making the right play, protecting the football, and leading the Commanders to a playoff run. I think if not him, Bo Nix is definitely the runner-up for me. But this is probably the best offensive rookie class that we've ever had, given that 4 receivers went above 1,000 yards, Tyrone Tracy Jr. had over 1,000 scrimmage yards, and all of the quarterbacks had pretty darn good seasons, if they played a lot. For Defensive Rookie of the Year, I think it's Jared Verse. I think Cooper DeJean and Quinion Mitchell had really good seasons. Andrew Phillips for the Giants had a really good season. But I think it's Jared Verse's award. The Rams defensive line went through a massive change last season when Aaron Donald retired, and Jared Verse has helped turn the tide with a much younger group and still have them stand out and help that team get to a playoff berth. Most improved, obviously, Sam Darnold. There's other options out there, but Sam Darnold, what a phenomenal season. What a phenomenal way to turn around your career in the NFL. Easily wins most improved. I think in real life he will win comeback player of the year. But once again, I think that there should be a most improved award and then a comeback player of the year award. Because in my mind, it's not really a comeback if the situation you were just bad at football for a little bit. Like Joe Flacco won it last season. That's still kind of actually, did DeMar win it or did Joe Flacco win it? I forget. Anyways, you guys know what I mean. For most improved or for comeback player of the year, I think it's J.K. Dobbins, who's had a phenomenal season for the Chargers after I think 3 or 4 massive leg injuries that he's had, and he still had an insane year with the Chargers. Stayed mostly healthy. Missed a few games, but stayed mostly healthy. I think J.K. Dobbins wins comeback player of the year in my universe with the way that I'm doing awards. Offensive player of the year, easily Saquon Barkley, was 100-something yards away from the rushing record. Time and time again carried the Philadelphia Eagles to massive wins, helped them be the number 2 seed. Just a great season for him. He deserves Offensive Player of the Year. If like 3 quarterbacks hadn't had insane seasons, there could have been MVP conversation for him, but I don't think that it's MVP worthy, but definitely OPOI worthy. And for Defensive Player of the Year, Pat Surtain, a cornerback has only won it twice in like the last 2 decades, but Pat Surtain locked up every single big name receiver that he faced, helped that Denver defense, helped the offense basically with a young rookie quarterback. They made the playoffs, but Pat Surtain had one of the best cornerback years of all time this year and deserves to get recognized for it. And then MVP, really quickly, Lamar Jackson had a phenomenal season. Joe Burrow had an insane season. Josh Allen had a great season. Most valuable player, literally in my mind, means that which team would be the worst if the backup went in. And I think in order, Baltimore would probably be the most self-sufficient given the defense and Derrick Henry. Then probably Cincinnati, and then Buffalo. Now, Cincinnati doesn't really have a run game, but you have enough weapons. Actually, probably Buffalo, then Cincinnati, given how bad the defense was. But Cincinnati didn't make the playoffs. I really don't think we can give it to Burrow, even though if they make it to the playoffs, I'm pretty sure Joe Burrow is the betting favorite for NFL MVP. But Josh Allen not only led his team to a number 2 seed, that team crumbles without him. That defense is really shaky at the start of the season. The offense did not have a reliable number 1 receiver. He helped guys develop Khalil Shakir, Keon Coleman, the tight ends. James Cook had a great season, but other than that, it's not like you have like 5 All-Pros on the offensive line. You don't really have an All-Pro receiver. You have a really good running back, but not like, a Saquon Barkley, Derrick Henry. Josh Allen is the MVP in my opinion. I think he's the most valuable player to his team and the most valuable player in the NFL this season, and I have him winning it. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you later. Peace.